Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Jamesville-DeWitt Central High School here in DeWitt, New York. My name is Sam Gelfand, the voice of the Red Rams, who just sang the national anthem for the first time ever. Ready to welcome you to tonight's senior night contest between the visiting Auburn Maroons and your Jamesville-DeWitt Red Rams. It's great to be here with Tyler Aitken and a four-person crew for the first time in literally 1 year for what should be a marquee matchup tonight.
It'll be a great matchup. Jamesville-DeWitt is on a 12-game win streak with just 2 games left this season. They want to keep all the momentum in the world going into the playoffs.
And they certainly have it, as they're on a 12-game win streak right now. They have not lost since December 21st. And on senior night, it's Brian Leiker who gets the tip. Excuse me, that's Josh Aitken, though, who was the one who actually facilitated it. And now the Red Rams in control. Ben Skellinger and Brendan Koberger actually on the bench to start tonight's game, as these seniors can get the playing time that they don't always get.
It's always a respectful thing for the coaches to start with the seniors starting on senior night. And there's the first bucket by a senior, Matt Keeler, up for 2 points.
Keeler puts them ahead of Auburn. And now Auburn will get their first chance on offense. Auburn, the name of their game this season has been inconsistency. That being said, if Tony Borges can hit baskets like that all night long tonight, they're going to have a good chance of it.
And Ike quick to the bench, already pulling in the typical starters to round out this Red Rams lineup.
Well, it's still great to see these seniors get the playing time, which they have certainly deserved over the last 4 years, as Daniel Anand comes through, puts one up off the rim. Anand tries again, almost gets it. Anand has been battling an injury this entire season. Otherwise, we would have seen much more of him, as he was a consistent starter in the spring. That pass goes to no one in particular, and they could not save it from being a backcourt violation. And now Anand, Leiker, and Aitken will come off in favor of Skellinger, Koberger, and Anthony Stickle. Anthony Stickle had a big game in the Hoops for Courage contest against East Syracuse Manoa, the last home game we saw. Put up 14 points and actually out-rebounded Brendan Koberger.
And that's impressive, because Brendan Koberger is a machine, especially offensively. He had a night of his own, 24 points. He scored at least 24 in the last 4 contests.
Brendan had 8 rebounds. Stickle had 9. As Koberger now tries to force his way into the paint, where he gets most of his scoring done. The fadeaway jumper off the mark and rebounded by Jack Tumber. We want to take this moment to thank each and every one of you joining us for this broadcast here live on YouTube. As the floater from Deshaun Strachan is off the mark. A tussle for the ball in the hardwood, and Strachan comes up with it.
And that was a real missed opportunity for the Red Rams. Stickle had a chance to dive on that ball. He chose not to. That's why you heard Ike yell, "Get on the floor," right after Auburn took possession.
Now Jack Tumber kept beyond the arc, though he passes it through Matt Stickle off the shoulder of Ben Skellinger. Not often you see that. But yes, Auburn has had trouble with consistency this entire season. In 7 of their 9 losses, plus 1 win, they surrendered 60 or more points to their opponents. But at the same time, in 6 of their 10 wins, they allowed less than 50 points.
It's a very up-and-down team, and hard to put a finger on them.
And that's certainly a down, as there's a a shot clock violation, and the Red Rams will get possession. And Auburn takes a timeout early on in this contest. You know, it is senior night, and just before this game, I wanted to see if I could sing the national anthem, because I never have at a sporting event before, and that was a nerve-wracking experience. But how nerve-wracking must it be if you're a senior on JD right now? This is your night on the bench. You get to start.
It's probably a little nerve-wracking, but JD has won 12 in a row. All of these players, specifically this group of seniors, has been playing together for about 10 years now. I think they're pretty comfortable with each other. So there is a little extra pressure, with it being senior night, but maybe not as much pressure as the game on Wednesday. There was a packed crowd for that Hoops for Courage game against ESM.
Oh, 100%, and it was a hot crowd, too. The roof was about to blow off this building at points. As Skellinger hits Koberger, gets closer to the basket, and draws the foul. To the disbelief of head coach Jim Marsh for Auburn. And now Koberger will go to the line for the first time in this contest. He's shooting 68.1 from the stripe. It's his first. And he's 2 for 2 to start us off.
And JD is immediately in a press, and they can afford to do that. They have, I believe, 17 players on their team. Auburn only 10 players. So they can afford to sub and press because they just have the manpower to do it.
They have 19 players, actually,
19.
which is...
I underestimated it.
Even more unbelievable. You can see on the bench they're out of branded red chairs. Though Deshaun Strachan has plenty of talent left in the tank. That is a 2, though, not a 3. Feet on the line. Now Anthony Stickle takes a proper three-pointer, rebounded by Strachan, who has really been a bright spot for the Maroons this season. 18.2 points per game on average. Ryan Dan denied at the net.
And that was quite the block there. Typical to see from Koberger.
And sent out of bounds once again by the Red Rams during that instant replay. Now here comes Matt Keeler. Koberger just such a dynamic player here for JD. Keeler cuts a swath through that defense on his way to the bucket. Like an explorer with a machete just chopping down brush.
That was great penetration there from Keeler and a great use of that screen that Koberger set.
Tumber decides against it, gives it to Dan. Dan kept so close by Keeler, and Strachan guarded by Stickle. Strachan, though, with some explosive speed, but not the accuracy. Second time doesn't work, third time does.
And when it comes to defensive rebounds, the Red Rams just haven't hustled quite a bit. They've had chances to box out better and dive on the floor, and they're not quite doing that. So they need to turn their effort a bit up, or they could find themselves in a loss tonight.
And a turnover by the Red Rams, which they have had great success in avoiding for the most part this season. And now a smart move by the junior Strachan to slow it down here crossing half court. You want to give your team time to rethink what you're doing and reset the momentum that the Red Rams have been building up. Dolan now. Quickly to Tumber. Tumber guarded by Keeler. Back to Strachan. 6 seconds on the shot clock. And snatched out of thin air by Skellinger, sent all the way down to Keeler. Keeler kept close by Dan, gets it to Koberger anyway, out to Skellinger. Right through the paint, loses control, but too many hands reaching in from the Maroons. The second foul already for Kevin Dolan. So now Aiden Bates looking to inbound it. Having a hard time finding a target, but he finds Koberger. Jumper is off the mark, rebounded by Borges.
That was a real missed opportunity. Shellinger was wide open under the basket, and Keeler just couldn't seem to find him.
Well, he did have a big presence in front of him, basically doing jumping jacks. It's hard, usually you do that because it's hard to, hold on, as Matt Keeler with a little stutter step, give and go, and he goes hard in the paint.
Keeler has such crafty finishing ability inside, and that's already led to 4 points for the Red Rams.
6 points for Matt Keeler already. His career high, just to keep it in mind, is 9, so he is having a career day.
Another steal from Keeler.
And now Anthony Stickle over to Bates. One bouncer off the mark. Koberger put back, doesn't work. Rebounded by Strachan. And that was great defense by Keeler. You see, he led him out of bounds.
It's been great defense time and time again. He's had 2 or 3 steals. He's had forced turnovers. He is very active on both ends of the court tonight.
The senior is fired up for his final home game of his career, not counting playoffs, of course, which we will be bringing to you in what capacity we can. The seeding meeting will be next Tuesday. So after next Tuesday, we'll know which games we'll be able to bring you. Scalinger meets Carter Sawyer in the paint. And as good as the Red Rams defense has been, sometimes it gets a little too aggressive.
It does get very aggressive, and Auburn needs to fight back. They didn't score right there, but at least they got in the paint. On the previous 3 possessions, they didn't even get the ball into the paint at all. The Red Rams have been doing that, so that's been the differentiating factor so far. Auburn needs to keep playing aggressive. Eventually, it'll turn into points.
Tumber into Borges. Tries to hit Sawyer, loses the ball. And we'll see who they give that to. I imagine it's going the Maroons' way. No, yes.
Looked like Sawyer almost tackled Keeler there, but I guess the ball must have touched some sort of Red Ram player.
I believe that the Red Rams attempted to literally roll it to a teammate on the ground, and that's what forced that turnover. Now Tumber. And Koberger with a rebound. We're expecting plenty of those. There was a lot of contact there heading to the basket, and that foul is on Deshaun Strachan.
It was a little bit of a reckless drive by Koberger. He had King a little bit open earlier. He had Keeler open, and now they're going to call that a travel. So maybe he can drive that with a little bit more tact next time.
A little bit more coordination, maybe, as he was just kind of like a shooting star heading towards the basket, not really sure where he was going to go. Just he knew he had some unstoppable energy behind him, and he was going to do his best to use it.
Exactly, and referees give the benefit of the doubt to people who have control. If he doesn't have control of his body and his positioning, they're going to see that as a travel instead of a foul.
15 seconds on the shot clock, 35 seconds left in the first quarter. Tumber. 7 seconds. In at the basket, off the mark for Sawyer, and rebounded by Koberger, and he got vertical. Now Bates has 18 seconds, and taken away by Kevin Dolan.
Just one extra pass there by King. He needs to go up for that himself.
Swung out to Dolan, 6 seconds. Sawyer to Strachan, 3 seconds. And that's the end of the first quarter. A very close contest as the Red Rams currently lead by just 1, 8-7 over the Auburn Maroons. And this is actually not without historical precedent if you go back and look at the history between these two teams. This is the 9th time that these two teams have ever faced each other. Auburn sometimes is a Class AA school, and of course JD didn't become a Class A school until a few years ago. So since 2017, they've met 9 times. JD leads this series 7-1. The last time they played each other was on the 19th. JD won 50-44, but the average score is actually 69-62, which is very close when you think about many of the Red Rams' other opponents.
It's true. Auburn hasn't won a lot of these matchups, but they've always played it close. We saw that with that 6-point loss earlier this season.
Also of note, Auburn's last win against JD came in 2019. Also of note, they scored 94 points in that game. When was the last time you saw anyone drop 94 in a high school basketball game?
It's been a very long time. I think the last time I saw any college or high school basketball team score 100 was the Louisville women's team against Syracuse just a few weeks ago.
Oof.
100-64 is not the score that SU wanted to see, but we're not here to talk about SU. We're here to talk about the Red Rams.
That's right, we're not in the loud house, we're in the cacophonous cottage tonight. As I and no one else calls it. And Strachan wants to call that a basket, instead it's a missed shot. And Brian King is the king of aggressive rebounding. No one puts his body on the line more willingly on the hardwood than Brian King.
I believe you're talking about Carter King right now.
Did I say Brian King?
You did say Brian King.
I mean Carter King.
Basketball player. He graduated last year, but
muscle memory, it seems.
Yes. Well, what's interesting about King is if he's wearing shorts, you can see it right now if you look closely. You can always see bruises on his knees. He's covered in bruises because he puts his body on the line consistently.
Now Tumber passes to Strachan into Borges. Kept close by Koberger. Jack Tumber watches it roll in off the lip.
And Aiden Bates needs to do a better job playing help defense. When the ball is in the paint there, you have to commit to defending whoever has the ball. You can't stay with your man over on the other side of the court.
Now here's Keeler underneath the basket. Hits Ian Delpha. Delpha almost shook his man. Uses a pick from Koberger to give it to King. Over to Bates. Jumper rolls off. There is something about Ian Delpha. He always knows how to place himself in a position where he is given multiple seconds to take a shot without anyone guarding him.
Being able to move off the ball is probably the most underrated skill for a scorer and a shooter. You see with players like Klay Thompson in the NBA, if you can find an open shot, it makes a heck of a lot easier to make them.
Now don't forget that on JDTV here we have a comments section as 2 points are put up by Borges. And if you have any thoughts on today's game, feel free to share them, and if we like them, we might even read them out on the air. Keeler tries to use some speed. He doesn't try, he does, and look what it brings him. Harvesting the bountiful fruits of the basket.
And Matt Keeler could really be earning himself some extra minutes in the playoffs with how he's able to score inside. JD's been looking for a second ball controller score just like Brendan Koberger, and Keeler might be the answer.
And Strachan has it off, and that goes the Red Rams' way. This is really some high-level, fast-paced basketball we're seeing here. Auburn, a school often on the verge of Class AA, competing there in some sports. And so they have the manpower to find the talent to equate to the Red Rams.
And yet it's interesting because they only have 10 guys on their team. You wonder why a team like Auburn doesn't have a bigger team.
Well, a lot of people are also wondering why the Red Rams have 19 on their bench.
Yeah?
By far the largest bench in all of Section 3, at least to my knowledge.
Yeah, and honestly, it might be a little too big, but JD hasn't had any issues so far with it.
Except for logistics.
Except for finding chairs, yes.
And Strachan is off to the races. Just Keeler to beat. He does so, but it rattles off. Not so, though, for Jack Tumber and the putbacker.
It's like someone put a piece of glass over that Auburn rim.
Strachan only has 4 points. He keeps getting the looks, and it keeps rolling off. They're just minor faults. Basically baskets.
But Auburn is certainly exposing a complete lack of the ability of the Red Rams to box out because they've gotten so many offensive rebounds and second chances. That's what's keeping them in this game. Which
is unusual because the Red Rams, including the last time they played Auburn, far out-rebounded the Maroons. In fact, you just look on the season, the Maroons averaged 26.8 rebounds per game, the Red Rams 31.4. Gellinger now gives it to King. That's Carter King. Koberger, crossover dribble, jumper, and rebounded by Jason Irwin.
And Koberger's been putting up a lot of mid-ranges today. I'd love to see him drive to the hoop a little bit more and try to tried to do what Matt Keeler's been doing so successfully today.
Well, Skellinger gets that ball off the ground. And here comes Anthony Stickle, Koberger. Man, you can't even describe what he does.
Right inside, that's where Koberger does the most damage. He needs to go inside again and again and again against this Auburn team because they haven't been able to protect the paint whatsoever.
But what it looks like to me is that the Maroons have learned the lessons from the last time they played JD, where they mostly stayed outside. They did not get in the paint all that often. And now that seems to be where they're attacking, as evident by all those offensive rebounds.
And it wasn't even like that at the beginning of this game. It's probably been more of the second quarter where Auburn has really cleaned up their mistakes offensively.
Stickle through two, taken away, but he gets it back himself. Koberger out to Stickle. And now here's Keeler fighting back. But no call. There's basically a bear hug there. Behind the back pass from Koberger, and he's upset because he knows that someone should have been there. And one there for Deshaun Strachan.
And that's a lot of mistakes that JD doesn't want to see. It was a lazy pass and then just a not the smartest foul by Keeler to foul on an open layup. You have to give him those 2 points. If you're going to foul him, which you can do, make sure he misses it. You don't give him a free third shot.
Well, Strachan is only shooting 56.6 from the line. He only went 2 for 4 the last time these two teams played each other. But he makes this one.
And we're seeing Koberger sit out right now. I don't know if he's tired or if coach isn't liking his shot selection, but usually he does not come out at this point in the game.
If you have to ask me, I think it's just to cool him down because he was heated after no one picked up that pass of his.
It's true. It also wasn't the best pass in the world, so hopefully JD can clean up some of their mistakes later in this game.
Well, the thing is that, well, first of all, Ben Skellinger with a beautiful layup. But the thing is that Brendan Koberger likes to include a little bit of Showtime offense when he's on the court. He likes the behind-the-back passes, the no-look stuff. But the thing is that not everyone's informed of it. Speaking of extra, read all about it. Matt Keeler draws the foul.
And that's his 4th or 5th steal today. He's been so active on defense. Great job, Keeler. And I think what Coach Ike would say to that is he doesn't care about Showtime. He cares about made baskets. So certainly there's a time and a place for it, but when you're tied or just down or up 1 point, maybe wait until you have a little bit of a bigger lead.
The point I was trying to get at is Keeler hits his first free throw and ties his career high of 9 points, is that Koberger likes to implement the Showtime, but not everyone on the team is always aware of it.
Yeah, as long as you're on the same page, it works, and clearly JD was not on the same page. There's an offensive rebounder by Schellinger.
And Ben Skellinger puts up 2 baskets in a row. And the full court press once again employed by the Red Rams. Strachan slows it down. Tumber hanging out beyond the arc. 1.5 minutes left in the first half, and this half has blown by. Here comes Strachan. Underneath the net, Tumber, foul.
And that was good heads-up defense by Aitken, putting his hands straight up in the air to block the shot and then grabbing the ball for the jump ball.
Of course, Josh Aitken, your brother Tyler. How happy were you to see him walk out here tonight on senior night?
It's nice to see, when I've taught him so much that he knows about basketball. I'm kidding, by the way. Josh is a much better player than me, but very proud to have been playing with him since I was 3 or 4, so it's crazy that he's this old already as he ends up with the ball there.
Yeah, how about that, snatching it? He knows he's got this opportunity here on senior night, and he is going to make the most of it.
Certainly will, as he has a nice pass into Keeler.
Oh, and
not finished.
Taken off the rim by Irwin. Now Strachan will take it across half court. Almost loses it, though. Ran into Bates. And a block from Skellinger, though it does create a foul.
This first half has gone really fast, hasn't it?
It's been a breathless pace. Grab your inhalers, everybody. Now Strachan for his second free throw, misses. The last time the Red Rams and the Maroons played each other, Strachan put up 21 points.
And he has just about half his team's points right now, which is an impressive mark. Also, who almost has half his team's points, Matt Keeler. You wouldn't have expected that going into this game.
No, it's a pleasant surprise. A pass from Aitken to Bates. Didn't find his target. Did you teach him that too?
No, I will not take credit for that.
So Sawyer passes it in. 30 seconds and no shot clock to close out this first half. Tumber to Strachan, back to Tumber. And hey! Josh Aitken slips, but hey, he gets it back himself. He went flying.
That was a nimble play there. One of those plays where you go, yes, no, yes.
Jumper from Stickle rattles out at the last moment, taken away. Desperation from Tony Borges, nowhere near the basket, and thus ends the first half. The Red Rams lead over the Auburn Maroons 20-17 in one of the closest contests we've seen in a while from the Red Rams.
It's been very close. Auburn is playing them tough. I think the Red Rams need to focus on slowing down on offense. Don't be afraid to set it up and pass it around a little bit. And then defensively, they just need to box out because Auburn has gotten so many second opportunities. This game wouldn't even be close if they weren't able to offensive rebound like they have been.
Well, there's only one way to find out if they'll make those halftime adjustments, and that's to stick around here on JDTV. Sam Gelfand and Tyler Aitken here. We'll be right back in 9.5 minutes. Don't go anywhere. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Jamesville-DeWitt Central High School here in DeWitt, New York. Sam Gelfand and Tyler Aitken here on senior night as the Auburn Maroons are bringing it to the Red Rams in a way that we didn't necessarily expect, but that has been the theme of their season. They have been inconsistent. Some nights they don't quite have the plot, others they show flashes of brilliance, and tonight is one of those nights.
They've been inconsistent. I wouldn't say I didn't expect this. I mean, they only lost to JD by 6 last time, so they can certainly play close with them.
And Aiden Bates misses a three-pointer. Strachan to the rebound, though he loses his balance for a brief moment. The other thing to consider for the Auburn Maroons is that one of their top playmakers, Sharif Edwards, has not played in 2022. We don't know if that's for injury or another factor. Couldn't find it in all the research I did, but he hasn't played since the end of 2021, and he's been sorely missed on the Auburn bench. Floater by Borges, off the mark, rebounded by Stickle.
And that was some good rebounding and great boxing out by the Red Rams. They need to keep that up this second half.
I've been present in the locker rooms for Coach Ike's halftime speeches, and let me tell you, he has such a sharp basketball mind, and even more importantly, he's a great communicator. And he knows how to tell his team what they need to do to fix things up in the second half.
He also knows how loudly to tell his team.
Usually very.
How to get better, yes.
Usually very.
I'd say he's probably...
Although actually, he uses room volume in the halftime speeches, at least the one I saw.
Yeah, he knows when to be loud. He's loud during games when that's the only way you can hear him. But when you're in the locker room, he doesn't need to be loud. I think there are some coaches that yell a lot, and that's their philosophy. He yells when he needs to, but not any more than he does.
I still want to start a charity to get basketball coaches megaphones.
That's a great steal.
Taken back immediately by Stickle. Keeler can't put it up. It is blocked and rebounded by Borges, all in one swift stroke.
Matt Keeler's playing aggressive here. He's asking for a foul with all that hand checking.
Well, why wouldn't you be aggressive? It's senior night. This is your final home game of the regular season as a Red Ram.
And it's worked. He already has 5 steals, so.
And he's probably poised for more. Borges swings it out. And off the mark by Jack Tumber. Now Stickle, there's been a rebounding force in this second half already. Travels. Looks like his foot slipped a little bit.
It's an interesting call. It looked like the foot that he had already picked up was the one that slipped. It looked like he kept his pivot foot down, but doesn't matter. The refs called what they called, and JD needs to play some defense now and try to limit those turnovers.
I don't know if this is a sign of how Coach Ike might be feeling about this game, but his shirt is currently untucked.
Huh. I don't think I've ever seen that from Ike.
Neither have I. I don't think I've ever seen a basketball coach on the sidelines in a full suit with an untucked shirt.
He's feeling casual. He's feeling casual today. What can you say?
He is a trailblazer. Anthony Stickle makes his first free throw. And that's actually his first point of the day. He was completely silent in the first half, which is unusual for him. He's averaging almost 10 points per game.
What's not unusual is to see him hit his free throws. He's shooting 77% so far this season. So he's as close to automatic on the stripe as you can get when it comes to JD basketball players.
And he is 2 for 2. Irwin will inbound it for Auburn. Jack Tumber has 4 points, by the way, but he really has been a key playmaker for the Maroons. And a 30-second timeout called by Auburn. Seemed to be interesting timing for that timeout. I think that head coach Jim Marsh just might not have seen something he liked with the way that the offense was setting up there.
Coaches will call timeouts whenever they feel like it for what sometimes seems like ridiculous reasons. If it doesn't seem like he likes how his offense has been setting up. They've been pretty stagnant in this first half. In this third quarter. They haven't scored at all, so he was probably drawing up a play if I had to guess. He's playing with his whiteboard over there. Sometimes all it takes is one basket to open the floodgates.
Absolutely. We saw it in that game against Oswego earlier in the season for the come-behind victory of the year the Red Rams put up. Likely unequaled for the rest of this season. Strachan to Tumber, 8 seconds. 5 seconds. They go around the horn, and Irwin can't connect to the basket, rebounded by Skellinger.
And again, Schellinger and all the JD players have been doing a much better job boxing out. So that first half adjustment has served them very well so far.
I also saw Coach March scribbling on the whiteboard after that, so perhaps he wants to redesign that play, try it again in a little bit. Taken away immediately by Keeler to Skellinger, puts it up right off the glass. And if the Maroons have needed a spark, the Red Rams have as well. They've been a little bit stagnant coming out into the second half, and that might be what opens up the floodgates.
Keeler and Schellinger have been friends for a very long time, so it makes a lot of sense that they have the chemistry to pull off a pass like that.
Strachan weaving through. Borges, no one on him. That's easy as cake.
And that was a great dish to Borges there. Probably even better than the pass the Red Rams just had. So hopefully the offenses start to pick it up here. I'm hoping for a little bit more of an interesting quarter.
Well, it's almost hard to say as Koberger gets the and one. Brendan Koberger continues to play like he's the protagonist.
And that's exactly the kind of entertaining play I was looking for. Gotta love to see an and one.
Brendan Koberger is the main character. That's the only way to describe how he just so effortlessly gets all these shots on the run.
That's a 30-second timeout taken by the Red Rams.
And Koberger up to 7 points now. I was trying to say, it's almost hard to say whether or not the first half was interesting just because it went by so quickly.
It did go by very quickly, and obviously scoring's not the only fun thing to watch in basketball, but 20-17 is fairly low scoring, and that's what it seems to be for Auburn. It's either a super low scoring game with like 32 points, or they're going to put up 76.
There really isn't a middle ground for them. It's one or the other. And there's also not been a middle ground of are they going to be competitive or not. It's one or the other. And tonight, at least in the first half, they certainly were. But now they're down by about 8. Tony Borges inbounds it to Deshaun Strachan. And no call there, unless it was delayed. I think they were pushing for a violation, spending too much time in the backcourt.
Either that or a travel. It honestly looked like it was both.
Well, now there's going to be a referee conference, or not. They're just handing off the ball. And
they called a foul on the Red Rams.
The third of the day, actually, for Ben Skellinger. Dolan to Strachan. Finds Borges inside. And no one's covering Irwin. Air ball.
But that is not a mistake you can afford as the Red Rams. It didn't look like that shot was going to go in regardless, so you don't need to foul him if you're Stickle.
Irwin's only gone to the line 4 times this season. He made 3 of them, though. And that's his first point of the day. Irwin, just a sophomore, already getting plenty of varsity playing time. And the crowd pipes up, but didn't let it get to him. It's not often you see someone go 3 for 3 from the stripe. In quick succession, too, with a hostile crowd.
It's also not very common for someone to take 3 free throws at once either, so. Starting to get a little physical here, don't you think, Sam?
Absolutely, and Ike's getting louder, so you know that it is. Tony Borges up to 3 fouls as well now. Bates to Scalinger. Great look and a great basket. Scalinger disappointed with himself there as he stepped out of bounds. And that's foul number 4. Scalinger, we're only halfway through the
third quarter.
Third quarter, thank you, as the words didn't want to leave my mouth for some reason. They cannot afford to lose Scalinger for the rest of this game. He cannot afford to foul out.
No, and they're lucky that they have Carter King off the bench, who certainly provides the defense and rebounding that the Red Rams love, but he's usually just not proficient finishing inside. Schellinger's shown himself to be pretty nimble. He has 8 points today, right?
Yes, he does, and King certainly matches Scalinger, at least in terms of play style, and pretty close in terms of numbers when it comes to rebounds and steals and things of that nature, but Scalinger does score about twice as many points as King does. But King has been a very proficient 6th man for the Red Rams this season. And that goes off the hands of Carter King and Auburn's way. By the way, don't forget that the upcoming sectional playoffs for basketball are not the only thing to look forward to here on JDTV. That's right, tomorrow we have a volleyball marathon. We'll be bringing you the sectional championships in winter volleyball all day long. 4 games, Class A, B, C, and D, starting at 10 a.m., and you do not want to miss that. And Deshaun Strachan hit his head hard. You can see him feeling around. I think he might be looking to see if there's any blood.
Probably looking for blood, and he was holding his head. You never want to see that. So coaches and referees are always going to be cautious. Take a little bit of an extra long break just to make sure everyone's okay.
Also, the trainer looking at Matt Keeler now as he goes back to the sideline. So Keeler might have injured himself on that play as well. But Strachan right back to it. And now he crosses the 10-point threshold. A push off by Borges, and I believe that's his 4th foul. It is. So both teams are in danger of losing key players right now.
And they're both 2 of the bigger guys on their team, so it might even out where they can afford throwing an extra guard in and not having to worry about size, which is probably lucky for both teams.
It could be argued, though, that Borges is a bigger loss for Auburn as he puts up 11.2 points per game. And he's also shooting 55.4 on his field goal percentage. The Maroons are accurate, no doubt about that. We have not seen much from Ian Delpha today, but he's on the court right now. This big game for Matt Keeler has kept Delpha on the bench for the most part. And Delpha takes a quick 3 from the wing, undershoots it.
You can't be taking a fadeaway 3 with time still left on the shot clock. That's a big mistake for the Rams.
And maybe that's why Matt Keeler's been taking Delpha's place for the most part today, although that has not been the case in the last few games, and Delpha has been putting up significant point totals. He takes a lot of threes. He doesn't hit all of them, but he has a knack for making himself open. That certainly is beyond a shadow of a doubt.
Great defense there from King, staying vertical to block that shot.
That doesn't count. That shot does not count. That hit the top of the backboard.
Yep, top of the backboard, and even that ribbon holding the hoop up, so that'll be out of bounds. And Coach Jim Marsh trying to call a timeout, but couldn't get it off in time. He seems a little frustrated with that call, but it is out of bounds.
100%. You don't have to be up here in the press box, quote unquote, to be able to see that. Carter King tried to get that rebound, accidentally sent it out. 1 minute remaining in the third quarter. Dolan to Tumber. And Dolan tries for a three. A laser beam. Too hard. There is certainly such a thing as shooting too hard, and we saw it right there. As Auburn will take a timeout. The one that Coach March was trying to call earlier but didn't get the chance to.
Yeah, and one thing I'll call attention to right now is Matt Keeler has some ice and he's holding it on his head, so that certainly could be an issue for the Red Rams. We know nothing about the severity, but losing Keeler, who has scored his fair share of points tonight, 9, tying his career high, that's a big loss.
Now let's take a look at how these two teams did the last time they faced each other and some of the keys. You can see here that the Maroons outshot the Red Rams. Better field goal percentage, far better three-point percentage, although the Red Rams have really been fixing this total as the season has gone on. However, here are the three difference makers. One is turnover percentage, doubled by the Maroons compared to the Red Rams. Red Rams also put up 12 more rebounds and 10 fewer fouls. The Red Rams are not a team that gets in foul trouble all that often, which is partially why it's so amazing to see Skellinger already have 4.
Rebounds can be a very big difference maker for teams. Usually if you win the rebound battle, you win the game. So that's probably a reason why JD's been so much more successful this season. When you give yourself more opportunities to score, you're going to score more. That's why Auburn was staying close in this game in the first half and even winning at some points, and now they're down by just a little bit more because they just haven't been able to grab offensive boards.
The Red Rams have been successful this season because they have the peskiest defense in Section 3, bar none. And they put up far greater steal totals and often defensive rebound totals, regardless of height, than pretty much every opponent that they find.
And we just saw some of that pesky defense right there. Some great on-ball defense by Sickle forced a turnover for the Maroons.
The Red Rams also have extremely low turnover counts as well. They may not be the most dynamic scorers, though they certainly can when need be. And there's a rare turnover. Strachan ultimately comes up with it. Red Rams battling for it. Koberger I think he got a finger on it, and that might have changed the trajectory.
And that is a great charge taken by Carter King. That is the type of stingy defense he brings to the table time after time.
What did we say about putting his body on the line?
He does not care if he is healthy. He does not care one bit.
6 seconds left. It's going to be Anthony Stickle. No, Brendan Koberger. He already hit a buzzer beater 3 once this season, but that will not be another. Either way, the Red Rams lead over the Maroons 29-24 as there's only 1 quarter left, and this is an extremely low-scoring game so far.
It's been very low-scoring. Part of that's been great defense by both teams. Part of that has been some subpar shooting. But Auburn coming into this game, they just want to be within striking distance going into the fourth quarter, and they've been able to do that. So I think they're happy with where they're at right now because if they can just get 1 or 2 more shots to fall, they are right back in this game.
Now here's some takeaways from the last time that the Red Rams came out. What we saw when they defeated ESM 50-34 just a couple of days ago. The biggest thing was this 45.8 field goal percentage. They went 22 for 48, which the Red Rams are not known for having a field goal percentage like that. Usually it's around the 37 range. They scored 26 of their 50 points in the paint. That assist-to-turnover ratio is gigantic as well, 1.63. And like we talked about, Koberger with a massive game, but Stickle, a great game as well, and even out-rebounded Brendan Koberger.
I think the key stat to look at in that matchup with ESM was points in the paint. We've been seeing a lot of mid-range and three-point shots, and that shot selection on Wednesday was just so good. It gave the Red Rams an opportunity to make more of those shots, have a higher shooting percentage, and get more assists, as we saw as well.
Now, if we get the chance to, maybe next time out, we should talk about the Maroon shot percentage, but not before mentioning how proficient Brendan Koberger is, up to 9 points now.
And there he is. He made the shot in the paint rather than taking a mid-range. He's just so much better when he's closer to the basket. He has a lot of finesse on his shot.
That is certainly true. When you look at him take that jumper, it's almost a bizarre form that he has, but when he gets close to the basket, it really works. And Ben Skellinger takes that away with authority. You know, some coaches might look at Koberger and want him to change his shot, but if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Sets a pick there for Keeler. Tried to pass it to Koberger off his hands. You can always tell a team leader by who slows it down. And Koberger snatches it off the glass. Poked out by Strachan. Koberger charges through two, sets his feet. Too much on it. Irwin gets the rebound. Strachan, if he had a better handle on that, he would have only had one person to beat. Three-pointer off the mark. And that's why Strachan scored 21 against the Red Rams last time out, as he went 5 for 9 on three-pointers. No one was stopping him that night.
And again, I'm going to keep talking about shot selection. Taking a three when it's 1-on-2 is just not smart. Wait for your teammates to come up and help you.
And wait for Brendan Koberger to explode off the glass.
He is so good at putback layups, and he does a great job drawing contact on them too.
And a timeout taken by the Auburn Maroons. Now, I want to bring up the score report for Auburn real quick, because here's a look at their field goal percentage the last time out. And what I think is incredible about this, we haven't seen this with any other team, is that there's only one place where they did not take a shot in that entire game. Yes, those gray quarters or those gray squares are where they didn't make a shot, but they were able to find looks literally everywhere. You don't see that with many teams, especially not at this level.
No, you don't. And one thing I want to point out, too, is this short corner area, you already circled it on the other side. That short corner is so important against a zone defense like the one the Red Rams run. And they're not used to putting up shots there or making them. So that could be why they're struggling so much offensively today, because that's where you score against the zone defense.
We also saw Deshaun Strachan eating from this area right here, and he's been trying that tonight from the same place, but it hasn't been working out. Auburn really taking their sweet time with this timeout, trying to get as much time as possible.
They need to rest. Like we said, they have a short bench. Some guys haven't even made it on the court. Borges has been in foul trouble, so they need all the rest they can get.
And the Red Rams are in the bonus as Koberger hits his and one, 4 for 4 from the stripe. Now Tumber over to Strachan. Borges, stutter step, Koberger with the block. And Matt Keeler swaddling the ball like a mother with her child. Really, nothing means more to this Red Ram squad. Though I suppose that's not exclusive to them. If you play basketball, you probably value the ball. Although with a turnover rate like the Red Rams have, maybe they do value it more than most. Delpha out to Keeler. Great ball movement here from the Red Rams, trying to find their look. 8 seconds left. Delpha across to Keeler. Bates has 5 seconds, takes that three. And Koberger gives him a little boost. We've been talking about Carter King putting his body on the line. How about Koberger getting knocked down with so many of these putback shots?
He always puts in the effort to get that offensive board and put it right back up. If he gets one, he's not kicking it out for a three. He's taking his own shot. And he's getting on the floor there. Red Rams end up with it.
Brendan Koberger last game had 7 deflections against ESM as Delpha still holds on to it. That's a travel. Skellinger almost dunked that. That was the closest we've seen from a dunk the Red Rams have had, and Ike is not happy with that travel call. I'm not quite sure it was. He was on the floor. He wasn't moving.
It looked like a travel just because if you lose possession and regain it without anyone else touching, it's going to be that. And Schellinger's lucky he didn't make that dunk because it would have been a tech.
And Koberger almost had another instead, Strachan with a rebound.
Like I was saying, though, dunking the ball when it's a dead ball is a technical foul. So Schellinger's lucky that the refs didn't see him try, and he's very lucky he didn't make it.
I just wanted to see it. I just wanted to see a dunk. Another timeout taken by Auburn. And now they only have one remaining. But I suppose when you're down by 12, it's not the end of the world to only leave yourself with one foul. One timeout, I mean.
They just need the rest. They really do.
Especially with Sharif Edwards no longer available. Why don't we take a quick talk about what day it is? It is National Guitar Day today. I haven't actually gotten to play mine yet today. I really should. It's also National Inventors Day. If you know anyone who created anything, this is a day for them. It's National Make a Friend Day as well, and I'm glad that we've gotten to make so many friends here on JDTV. Created this little close-knit group of ours. And it's also the birthday of Mike Shinoda, one of the frontmen of Linkin Park.
And Sam, I actually did a little bit of research today. I have another national day.
Really?
February 11th is National Stay Satisfied When You're Single Day. 3 days before Valentine's Day, some people might be worried that they don't have a Valentine yet, but today they don't have to worry about it because you're supposed to be happy alone today, I guess.
Oh, that's the holiday for me right now. No, but I think the birthday of Mike Shinoda needs to be celebrated. I think that Linkin Park's Hybrid Theory, I don't think there is an album that screams high school more than that. Strachan into Borges. Tips it back in. Third time, fourth time. Just keeps going off his hands and not in the direction he wants it to.
Looked like pinball in there for a second.
Should basketball have multi-ball?
Have what?
Multi-ball, like pinball.
That would be entertaining, but probably a mess. Maybe for like an all-star game, that would be cool.
That would be a lot of fun, I have to admit. Poked out immediately by Bates. Koberger gets it back. The Red Rams' steal totals have been so high this season. They average 10 per game. And it's even higher than that. Just Keeler alone has like 5 of them. And speaking of, here's the man of the hour. Not a travel, but Koberger finds his destination for 2 points. 16 points for him. And that's the final timeout taken by Auburn.
And that was a great pass there by Keeler. He's a playmaker because when you're inside, a lot of people think playmaker's just passing, but it's knowing what to do. So he can pass inside, he can score inside, and that's why he has so many points today. He knows when to do the right thing.
And the Red Rams are feeling it right now, up by 14 with 3:23 left in the game. Now let's take a look at the Red Rams score report. And this is something that we talked about in the game against ESM, is that as the season has progressed, except for, once again, this one square, kind of like with the Auburn thing, there's nowhere that the Red Rams can't hit a bucket from anymore. They've really formed up on their field goal percentage.
They have, but just that insanely low three-point percentage has really hurt this team's potential this year. They've won 12 straight. They've been playing really well, but their average score totals are pretty low, and they're going to face some good teams in the playoffs. So when you're shooting less than 17% from three, you can start to get a little bit worried.
Well, I think it should be noted that that was that one game, and that three-point percentage has shot up like a rocket in the last 5 or so games. It's now at 27.4. They haven't relied on it much tonight, which is kind of strange considering the momentum they've been on. But so far, Anthony Stickle and Ian Gelfand and even Aiden Bates, the three of them have just been making it rain from downtown.
They have been. It would be nice for them to get that three-point percentage over 30%, but they might be able to do that in the next few games. We'll see.
You don't see it too often at this level. They actually have a higher three-point percentage than Auburn does. However, Deshaun Strachan will attempt to increase that total. He's up to 13 points, and that, I believe, yes, was the first three-pointer made by Auburn tonight. Scalinger out to Koberger. What fancy moves! And Aiden Bates intercepts it.
A lot of really nimble passing inside for the Red Rams.
Speaking of showtime. Fade away from Bates. Finds its mark.
And this lead has crept up slowly but surely to 15 points with 2 minutes to play. Auburn's in desperation mode. Never say never, but they need to start scoring quick.
Well, I think you can see it on the court. I think you hit the nail on the head. They look exhausted out there. You can see it on the court and on the bench. Just look at their body language. They're slouched over further than usual.
And Auburn's going to the bench, throwing in some players that don't typically get playing time. They're not fouling. It looks like they're putting up that white flag.
You'd think they'd have a maroon flag. A little bit of trouble in the paint, but Brendan Koberger shaking his head. He doesn't know how he does it either. We certainly don't. He defies science. He doesn't need He doesn't need a clean look at the basket. He doesn't need to know what's going on. He just finds it.
And that was a great bucket, a great answer by Strachan, but it's definitely going to be too little, too late. The poor shooting has culminated in 29 points through 27 minutes of play. That would be their worst point total all year if it holds.
And once again, it's so interesting because up and down, even as inconsistent as Auburn has been, the one consistent thing is that they have been accurate. It's been their defense that has let them down or pushed them up, but they've been consistent shooters this entire season, save for tonight. And the Red Rams get it right back. Timeout called by the Red Rams because now the seniors will get to come back in. Liker and Aitken, it looks like, are going to be subbed in once this timeout expires.
Same with Daniel Anand.
And they're asking the crowd to get hype. Man, if I was a player, I would never stop playing to the crowd. That just seems like, outside of playing the game, the most fun thing you can do on the court. Now Daniel Anand, who got to start this game, loses it, gets it back himself. Quick bounce out to Keeler. King to Anand. Fancy little spin move, but lost it again. Now it's Aitken under the net and sent out. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, do not forget that Tuesday will be the sectional seating meeting, and we'll know more games after that as Brian Liker puts up 2.
And that's the loudest I've heard this crowd all season. Oh, my goodness.
We'll have sectional playoffs for you come Tuesday. And speaking of sectionals, tomorrow all day long we will have girls winter volleyball sectional championships. So don't forget to check back in here on JD TV as Auburn wants to take the last shot of the game and at least finish on a high note. That won't do it. Aitken is going to wait it out. Crowd wants one more, but that's the sporting thing to do. That's all she wrote. The Red Rams win on senior night. taking it 46-29 against the Auburn Maroons, who are held to a surprisingly low point total tonight. The Red Rams simply outshot them. There's no other way around it.
13 straight wins for the Red Rams. They've got one more game on Tuesday, and then it's off to the playoffs.
And right now, the Jamesville-DeWitt Red Rams are so dangerous you couldn't take them on an airplane. There is no stopping this team right now. Next stop, New Hartford. I think that's fair to say. So thank you so much for joining us here live on JDTV, not just tonight, but through the entire basketball season. My name is Sam Gelfand, the voice of the Red Rams, on behalf of my broadcast partner, Tyler Aitken, as well as the rest of this JD-based crew, Mike Meskos and Nick DeCaney. Have a very good night wherever you may be.